What's up, Cougs? I'm your host of Unorthodox Sports here on KUGR. Squabba, we are so excited to be with you for another semester. KUGR, it is a blessing and an honor and a privilege to be with you guys. I am not alone doing today's show. With me today, I have two very, very special people, special individuals that I regularly do the show with. If you're tuned in live on our YouTube channel, that's where we do our streams every Tuesday at 6 p.m. So definitely subscribe at KUGR Radio on YouTube. With me today on my left shoulder, Mr. Asher Lyon himself. Asher, your days remaining at Washington State University are numbered, and for that, we are very, very grateful to have you with us. Asher, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Back at you. It's been a little too long, I think, but we have a lot to talk about today. I've been looking forward to this show for a while now. It's good to see your two shining faces again on this very familiar and great Skype call. I'm always looking forward to this one.
Such a sweet message. Valentine's Day right around the corner. Gentlemen, will you be my Valentines?
Wow.
Aaron.
On the spot.
Yeah, on the spot. I haven't even introduced Aaron yet. Aaron on my right shoulder. Always a pleasure, buddy.
Oh man, it's great to be here. I miss you guys both dearly, and yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it. We got a lot to talk about today. It's gonna be a great show.
To be honest, Aaron, like, you didn't get as much of an intro. You're just not as important to the show. No, I'm totally kidding.
Will you be my Valentine? Also, Squabbo, you're not.
I should just hang up.
Aaron, for the record, Aaron is calling a game with me on KUGR, the Female Apple Cup for basketball. We are so excited. Aaron, I love you, buddy. I'm just kidding.
That's still like 3 weeks out. I can cancel. I can flake on you.
Please forgive me. All right. So, gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about on today's show, so let's get into it. I feel bad for Aaron, so Aaron can go first. Let's react to the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay, shockingly, 31-9 victory over Kansas City. As betting started heading up to the Super Bowl, 80% of the bets, 80% of the money was spent on Kansas City. So many people lost so much money. That one dude that bet $1 million on Tampa Bay looks like a genius. And Tampa Bay won in blowout style, the biggest blowout in the Super Bowl since something like 2013. But 31-9, the final score. Tampa Bay is victorious, finishing their season 15-5. Aaron, what was your reaction to the Super Bowl?
First off, I was a part of that 20% with me and my buddy, one of my buddies back home, who I bet on the Bucks. So I won my bet this Super Bowl weekend, which is pretty awesome. I know, I was pretty stoked about it. And going into it, I was really hoping, like, okay, to be fair, I started watching. I'm like, I don't really care who wins for the most part, besides the Buccaneers, like, because that's who my money was on. But like, I wanted it to be a close game. I was hoping for a shootout, like, you know, knowing two of the best quarterbacks in the league at this moment, the GOAT and then Patrick Mahomes. It's like you want to see touchdowns being thrown left and right, but it just didn't end up happening like that. That's the worst I've ever seen Patrick Mahomes play. Like, they finished with the best record in the NFL, didn't they? 14-2, right, at the end of the season, and then they end up going for 9 points. And okay, one of my favorite parts about this entire thing was seeing Gronk and Tom. Like, you know, their connection always is probably one of the best. They're probably the best duo in the league, right? Because, like, and they set the record for the most like duo touchdown receptions, like, in the playoffs with like 15 or 16, I think. It was one of those. But I mean, and I still dislike Tom Brady. But it is stupid, no matter who he's playing against, to bet against playoff Tom. Because now, in my book, he is the greatest of all time. He is the GOAT. And it's like, I don't like saying that, but the man has 7 rings. He went to the Buccaneers and got a ring. He had six in New England. But it just shows, like, granted, the Buccaneers did have some tools to help him. Like, Mike Evans is good. He brought Gronk with him. Receiver corps fantastic. They got a great defense. But Tom Brady is the GOAT, and he deserves the MVP. He deserves every ring he's gotten, and I just think that it's undisputed. I don't think you can make any argument for a better quarterback or a better player in the NFL.
Just for the record, before that game, was Tom Brady not the GOAT?
Well, okay, here's the thing. I've never liked Tom Brady. He bugs me because of how much he wins, and he still bugs me because of how much he wins. I think it was maybe an 80% GOAT, but solidifying his 7th Super Bowl ring is you just can't. It's not going to go down, and plus he's going to come back for another season, which gives him another opportunity to win one. Granted, that's a small chance it's going to happen, but for sure he's the GOAT now.
All right, Asher.
Yeah.
I have a few reactions to this, but I don't even know where to start because just like you two, I expected to shoot it like everyone did, and it ended up being one of the worst Super Bowls. Like it had the lowest viewer rating in the last 14 years, and it was just not that appealing. The Weekend I thought had a good halftime show. I like the memes that have come out of that.
He got a lot of trash for it.
I thought it was fine. And
it was good.
You have to think about the situation too. Like you have to be socially distanced. Like you have to take precautions and stuff like that. Like given the circumstances, I thought he did the best he could.
Real quick, for the record.
Yeah.
Oh, about the halftime show, just because I want to let Asher continue. For the record, I completely agree with you. I like the halftime show. I thought it was really good. I just heard a lot of people that disagree with that statement.
It was definitely a lot of mixed reactions. But given the circumstances, I think it came out with a very top tier meme, like right behind the Bernie in the chair meme. Like those are the best
Bernie
of 2021, and you cannot change my mind. But anyway, back to the game. I think there are a couple factors that I thought of. And Jim Nantz mentioned it at the beginning of the broadcast. You have Eric Fisher, their starting left tackle, tears his Achilles before, like, a couple weeks before the Super Bowl in the conference championship, and that essentially messed up the entire offensive line. Because you have to move your right guard over to the left side to play tackle, and you have to move your guard on the right side over to tackle, and that essentially just completely put the offensive line in disarray. And we saw that happen. Patrick Mahomes was sacked the most times in his career. He lost by double digits for the first time since that beating to Iowa State when he was at Texas Tech in college. Like, he had never lost by double digits in the NFL up to this point, which is something to be super proud of. Like, that just goes to show the ceiling of Patrick Mahomes. But then you throw in the serious turf toe that he's getting I think that he had surgery on today. Then you have the concussion protocol that he had to go through. I'm sure he wasn't totally recovered from that. You'd have to be Superman, I feel like, to fully recover from a concussion in a couple weeks. And so I feel like that had a lot to do with it too. And some of the throws he was making were awesome, and they would have been a lot better if his receivers had caught the ball, where he's like parallel to the ground and stuff like that.
Crazy.
Absolutely.
Like he still got that ball off. It's absolutely incredible.
Like there are videos of the Tampa Bay bench like throughout the game. It's like, wow, how did he do that? Like, what's going on? Like, who is this guy? They're like, I don't know.
He's not human. Like, Patrick Mahomes is not human.
He's really not. And as far as the Brady versus Mahomes conversation, I forgot who it was, but Mahomes essentially needs to get to at least 8 Super Bowls to have a chance to catch up to Tom. Because if Mahomes wins it, it's 6 versus 2 rings. But now it's 1 versus 7. And he could definitely do it. Like, we know how this Chiefs offense can roll. And Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles came out with a great game plan. They they just double teamed Tyreek Hill the entire game.
It was perfect.
They didn't want him because he went off for 203 yards in one quarter the first time they played, and he said, no, we're just going to double Tyreek the entire time, and it worked because they just played 2 deep safeties, and Chiefs could not do anything against that.
Exactly.
Because their front 7 are just too fast for all the checkdowns. They just got to the ball immediately, like they just preyed on it, and they just got to Mahomes anyway, so he couldn't even get the ball out half the time, which I thought was something to look at. That's something we've never seen from Kansas City. Like, Kansas City just showed the entire league how to beat them and how to beat Patrick Mahomes. Like, granted, some of it is play their second string offensive line and have Mahomes play on like 1.5 feet, but now it's out there on film now for the world to see. And credit to Tom Brady and that entire coaching staff. They did a heck of a game. They came with a heck of a game plan, and they executed it like to perfection. Like, there's not a lot wrong that went for Tampa Bay's side.
Oh, went to the wrong screen, but I completely agree. When you talk about the defensive scheme that Todd Bowles had going into the game, they said, we're going to run 2 safeties. We're going to have Tyreek Hill every single play, double team. Travis Kelce, every single play, double team. We'll give you a couple of comebacks throughout the game. You're going to have a couple of underneath routes, but that's about it. And we're going to force you to run the football, which you struggle at doing, and we're going to believe that our 4 can beat your 5. And that's exactly what they were successfully able to do the entire game. That defense was getting pressure. Patrick Mahomes was on the run. You guys mentioned Patrick Mahomes had a couple of plays that were just incredible, that were drops. But the specific one on 4th down late in the game, they had a chance to come back in that game. Was it Darrell Williams was the one that dropped that ball, I believe? It hits him right in the face. Hill had a drop earlier too, but on this play, when Mahomes rolls out, you guys mentioned it, the reaction of the bench, the reaction of everyone, that was one of the most impressive plays. As he's going to the ground to put it on the money like that was incredible. But Patrick Mahomes wasn't enough in this game, and a lot of people had him being the reason that teams are that people picked Kansas City to win. And it goes to show how important the trenches are. Both sides of the ball, Tampa Bay won of the trenches. And it also goes to show, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but why letting Russ cook doesn't necessarily mean on the field.
Exactly.
It means in terms of personnel, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit. What I want to talk about now about the Super Bowl, and we'll keep it on this, so if you guys have anything else to add, what does this mean for Brady and Mahomes? Let's start first with Mahomes. Aaron.
Well, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, there's not really much else for him to do right now, right? He signed a 10-year contract worth $500 million. So he's going to stay with Kansas City, obviously. Kansas City has the tools to go back to a 3rd Super Bowl, obviously, with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, who, by the way, a combined, for like receiving yards for them in the Super Bowl, they had combined 210 combined receiving yards, right? Those are some good numbers out of 2 receivers, right? But still no passing touchdowns, and that's only because of the fact that both of them were double teamed. And so what I think that Mahomes needs to realize is that he has other targets that are available. Sammy Watkins is getting old. He's been in the league a long time, but he's still a good receiver, so he should still be a viable option to go to throw the ball. And I just think that Patrick needs to expand his horizons with who he's got for options. They need to maybe trade around for a little bit for some other receivers, maybe some draft picks. I'm not sure who they would trade, but Mahomes needs to just throw the ball to different people other than Tyreek and Travis Kelce, because they also had 25 targets between the 2 of them. So
he started seeing ghosts as well. He started having to deal with pressure in no time. But they have the weapons, the McCall Harmons of the world, the Byron Pringles of the world. If we going down the depth chart, but they have enough guys that are capable. I think it's about the pressure that he was facing, but also just the scheme defensively. But so it's not much of an impact for Mahomes. What do you think about Brady?
Mm-hmm. I have one more thing about Mahomes real quick.
Go ahead.
So the reason he didn't do so well in that game, think about the trenches, you were talking about the trenches, it's so important. Who the Tampa Bay has in the trenches? There's 3 names that come into my mind, right? You got JPP, the 9-fingered beast, and Ndamukong Suh, and then Vita Vea out of UW. But Vita Vea is a beast in the trench, dude. He's a young player still, but oh my God. That dude knows how to play football. He knows how to get around the blocker, and he's fast for how big he is too. That's what makes him so scary. And that's why, when there's so much pressure, you automatically default to your best receivers, right? So Tyreek and Travis Kelce. And I feel like that was one of the reasons that he threw the ball at them so much, was because he's who's going to catch every single time I throw it to him? It's going to be Tyreek and Travis. And I think that's one of the reasons he threw to them so much. And that's why but even though they were double teamed, he still threw to him. But for Tom, I think he stays in Tampa Bay and tries to get another ring. Honest to God, he's got I don't think Tampa Bay needs to make much of the changes. Winning the Super Bowl proves how good you are. Obviously, best team in the world. That's what they're going to call it, best team in the U.S. But I think Tom. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no! Finish your thought.
No, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, maybe playoff Lenny is a super huge tool. Did you guys see that Todd Gurley tweet about he just literally tweeted just playoff Lenny, period.
Playoff Lenny's a thing. I know, playoff Tom.
Exactly. They coincide together, right? But playoff, Tom Brady finished with a 125.8 rating at the end of that game. Good God, those are video game numbers. And 3 touchdowns, no picks. Sacked only once for a loss of 6, but that's just because of his line. But I don't think Tom. Exactly.
Everyone.
Getting sacked in the Super Bowl when you have 2 of the best teams playing each other is going to happen.
Exactly.
but honest to God, I don't think Tom Brady needs to do much else. I really don't think he does. I think he's set in Tampa Bay.
That's the thing. That's the thing is that when you believe that you are the brand, and he is the reason that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are winning right now, obviously, and that he can bring. If he believed that he could build the Super Bowl roster, leaving New England last year and going to an organization in an offseason with COVID and the pandemic, and now there's going to be more vaccines available, hopefully, and now there's going to be brighter horizons heading into the season. He's already been with the team. He's already been with the coaching staff. They built some chemistry, and they won a Super Bowl. So now it's even more likely to be successful. They're gonna get even more people. Anyone that was wondering, like, is this the year to join Tampa Bay? Before, should I go and join? Is it gonna be worth my time? Yes, it's gonna be worth your time. You're gonna get incentives. You're gonna win the Super Bowl. You're gonna be successful. So if it was successful last year, I think it's even more successful this year now because of it.
And people are going to want to go play for the Buccaneers now that Tom's there too. Like, obviously they wanted to at the beginning of the season, but now that they won a Super Bowl, like, people are going to be actively wanting to get traded to the Buccaneers.
And they're in danger of losing Chris Godwin to free agency. Mike Evans already said he'll take a pay cut, and they're in danger of losing Shaq Barrett to free agency because Shaq Barrett's going to get offered $100 million.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to get offered.
Wherever he goes. Wherever he goes.
And so it's going to be hard to turn down that amount of money. But Chris Godwin, does he take less money to stay? The difference might be a lot in terms of what you can pay him. Either way, they're going to be able to bring in new people. Don't be surprised. This roster is going to have a lot of turnover. There are going to be a lot of guys that get money, and like they went like Leonard Fournette. Is he going to get more money elsewhere? We don't know what's going to happen with that, but there's going to be turnover on this roster, and there are going to be a lot of new faces ready to get their hands on a ring. Ashley, let's go to you, though. What was your reaction, or what does this mean for the legacy of Mahomes and Brady?
As far as Mahomes' legacy goes, I'm not sure it should be affected too much because, oh no, you lost the Super Bowl to the greatest quarterback of all time. Join the club, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people have done that. Like, Roethlisberger's lost to Brady. Manning has lost to Brady. Breeze lost to Brady. Russell Wilson lost. Well, Russell Wilson lost to Malcolm Butler now.
Stop!
I had to bring it up. Hey, you set yourself up for it.
I had to bring it up.
You did not. No, you didn't. I'm just putting it out there. But
we just gotta remind him of the good ones. Rodgers,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Like, the list goes on and on. Just because Brady's been playing in the league that long, like, you guys see that the
year I was born. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, the year in between Brady's, it was either his first or his third. I saw multiple. Calvin Johnson entered the league, retired, and got into the Hall of Fame in between his first and his last Super Bowl win. Like, that's how crazy it is. Like, people's entire careers, like, can fit in how long Tom Brady's been around. And so I don't think Mahomes' legacy should be affected all that much. And a lot of people might not consider the injuries and the offensive line injuries like as big factors in this, but I think I do, just because of that. Like, in offensive line, like, I feel like that's the most underrated job in all of football is your offensive line and like how good they are. And when you mix when you mix up like 4 or 5 of those positions, like, that's basically telling 4 or 5 people to do something totally new, because it's totally different. Left guard versus right tackle versus your center, what you're supposed to do and stuff like that. And so I don't think it should affect his legacy that much, because he just signed, like, he's the richest person in football right now. Like, there's a reason he signed that giant contract that I'm kind of jealous of. Everyone, as I'm sure everyone is. But also, I think there's not a lot he needs to fix. I think he got it fixed today with his turf toe. Like, I think that's the only thing I see needs to be fixed, because you have Kelsey, who still finished with 10 catches and 133 yards, the best tight end in football. You have Tyreek Hill, probably top 2 receivers based on what he did against Tampa Bay, and was able to finish top 5 or 6 in total yards this year. So your offense is totally fine, but it's your rush defense, I think, that needs to get fixed. Because you saw Fournette break off that 27-yard touchdown run. You saw the red zone defense except for that fourth and goal stand at the goal line. I thought that was impressive, because their red zone defense had been not that great all year, and so that was really good to see. And so that's a building block that you can take moving forward. And this kind of goes for both teams. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the only thing broke I see is Patrick Mahomes' toe, and he's getting that either today or tomorrow. And then for Tampa Bay, you just won the Super Bowl. I don't see why you would change that. You have an awesome head coach who has a Super Bowl now under his ring. You have a great You have great coordinators who are probably going to try to get snagged away from you as head coaches. Todd Bowles, the first person to Mahomes out of the end zone. I don't know why the Jets got rid of him for Adam Gase. That makes them look really bad. Todd Bowles is a great coordinator. Byron Leftwich and Brady just went so well together. That offense was really fun to watch as well. So there's not a lot to fix with Tampa Bay. And like to your point, Aaron, to add on to it, Tampa Bay is probably the most attractive landing spot in the NFL now. And I feel like that's what winning the Super Bowl does for you. It makes everyone want to come play for you because you're like, oh, because it's the recency bias thing. They just won the Super Bowl. I want to come play for you. Kind of like Kansas City last year when they won the Super Bowl. Oh, you guys are really good. Patrick Mahomes is about to sign a really big contract. I want to come play for you. And so the recency bias, I think, will play in Tampa's favor a whole lot.
Man, just preaching wisdom, Ash. That's why I always love having you guys on the show. You guys are so amazing. I love you guys on and off the show.
Likewise.
Likewise, yeah.
So, but I agree with some of your takeaways. I don't agree with everything. About first Tom Brady. First of all, he was already the GOAT. In my mind, there was no denying that. 6 rings with 6 game-winning drives in the Super Bowl. Then he goes to a new franchise, and without an offseason, after losing to the same team twice, the second time on your home turf, horrifically, in embarrassing fashion, the worst loss of his career at the hands of the New Orleans Saints at home in Tampa Bay earlier this season. They kick a field goal just to put some points on the board late in the game instead of going for it. It was disgraceful. That was the most embarrassing moment of Tom Brady's career. But he was not swayed. His confidence was not lost. He fought down the stretch. They go undefeated to end their season after... their last loss of the season, I do believe, was to Kansas City. That's crazy. Both of their last losses of the season was to each other because
that was
Tampa.
Their last loss. They won every game since. And to add to that, Tom Brady also went through 3 former MVPs in this postseason in Breeze, Rodgers, and Mahomes. That is something.
Absolutely.
3 former MVP. So they win at Washington. They go up against a pass rush and the young fella, Chase Young. That's the future NFL. The guy who he says he wants Tom Brady. Well, you can have him, and it didn't go so well for Chase Young. Tom Brady in the divisional round goes to the team that he loses to twice throughout the regular season. New Orleans handed him his worst loss of his career. Never got to play Drew Brees in a Super Bowl. And now is finally his opportunity to play Drew Brees in the playoffs because Tom's been waiting at the final step and Drew Brees has never been able to make it. So finally, Tom Brady versus Drew Brees, and once again, almost poetically, to send Drew Brees into retirement practically. Tom Brady shakes his hand and retires this man before advancing.
But in such a humble way possible, too. Right, like he was talking on the field afterwards, but yeah.
Before advancing to the MVP of this season, Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau, the man who has complained his entire career for not having the situation of Tom Brady up in New England, the man who's complained his entire career for not being able to host an NFC Championship game in 2014, eliminated by Seattle after they should have won that game, but the onside kick, they struggle, and Seattle ends up winning in overtime. 2016, Atlanta, they lose on the road. And then now they lose to Tom Brady once again after a coaching mistake that highlights the entire problem with the Green Bay Packers offseason. Tampa Bay went for it with Tom Brady. They went for it. They go sign people. Green Bay didn't go for it, and they lose to Tom Brady. So he's going through the line. You can't write a more perfect path to the Super Bowl.
I have to agree with that. It's pretty hard to.
Tom Brady deserves a Tom Brady.
Too, like, man.
Wait, how long do you think it takes for Tom Brady to retire before he gets his own 30 for 30?
A week.
A week.
Yeah, honestly, I was gonna say I hope they're filming that right now. Because
I hope so too.
There's no way he doesn't get one. Like you'd have to be. might be absolutely ridiculous to not give him his own 30.
He low key might get like close to a 10-part thing like The Last Dance. He might get like a 5 or 6-part 30 for 30. I would imagine.
At least the 7-part.
Yeah.
He has 3 different Hall of Fame careers.
He really does. He really does.
No, and so I'm bringing all this up because I don't think Tom Brady's close to retirement. He didn't even consider
he said he's coming back after.
Yeah,
after
he's coming back.
No, but he already knew that before the game. No matter what happened, he was coming back. Gronk's coming back.
Yeah,
Tom Brady looked fine.
That's really scary.
Well, the thing is, did you guys see like the post game like footage of them and the Buccaneers in the locker room getting all hype, and then there's just Tom sitting at his locker, packing up his bag, and then walking out. Like he's like, I've done this 6 other times. I get it. Let's just take it. I'll be back next year. Like he's so nonchalant about it. Like it makes me want to like just strangle the man, but it's like, wow.
No, it's just respect. It's just respect. And I haven't even talked about what happened in the Super Bowl yet. He's going up against the best quarterback to start a career we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, an MVP.
Literally.
Patrick Mahomes, what this means for Patrick Mahomes is that he has never gotten over, and he better hope that at some point, if he ever wants to be the GOAT, he gets over the Brady hump.
Yeah.
When Brady was struggling in the Super Bowl in New England, and it was their worst team before, the final year, he knocked my homeboy out of the playoffs. Now, on his wheelchair, in the pocket, on the phone with AARP, he takes down Mahomes once again at age 43 to get 7.
Dude. He's going to be playing until he's 50.
I can see it. I could literally see
surprised.
it.
Unfortunately, so can I. Like, good Lord.
Ooh, speaking of jokes, I want to throw this in here. I got a good one for you guys. What's Tom Brady's new favorite song?
What's that?
7 Rings by Ariana Grande.
No, there you go.
Had to do it.
Boo, boo, boo.
It only fits. It makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's not funny.
That's fair.
All right,
is it bad when the insult is funnier than the joke?
Exactly.
Asking for revenge.
Yeah.
That's because we all agree with the insult. Like, no, what? We love you, Ashley.
Oh boy.
No, it's fine. Continue. Just forget about it.
So
Fine.
So what this means for Patrick Mahomes is that now, if he ever wants to be the GOAT, not only does he have to beat Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, but he has to get more than 7 rings to do it, because 43-year-old beat your young, beautiful. What if this is his prime?
Pretty boy. What if this is Brady's prime? Is that what you just said?
No, Mahomes.
Oh God. Okay.
All right.
Got a little worried for a second.
I don't know how much better than 55 touchdowns you can get. Like, I don't know.
No, it really doesn't, dude. Like,
does not get better than that.
It doesn't. Those are video
3
game numbers.
comebacks in the playoffs. I don't know how in the same year, 24 points down, winning by like 20. Like, I don't know how much more prime you can get from Mahomes. And Brady knocked you out twice now. So if you can't, like, even if you beat him later, it's not going to be enough. Like, AARP Brady beat you. I'm sorry. It's just, this is really bad for Mahomes' legacy, and this is exactly what I wanted to happen heading into the Super Bowl. Because
sorry, keep going.
this is the last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
I wanted this to happen because of our Seattle Seahawks, and we were the team last decade that was supposed to repeat and continue the every 10s. There's one team that repeats. We were supposed to do it. We did not do it. This year, Kansas City looks like they're the team that's finally going to do it. Everyone's betting on them, and they're all cocky. They're ahead of themselves. Now they get hit with reality, and who knows? What if they have a collapse like Seattle? Aaron, it's your turn.
The thing is, I totally spaced on what I was gonna say.
I'm sorry.
Now, no, it's okay. No, I interrupted you. Now I'm upset. But it was so good. It was so good too, and that's the sad thing. Anyways, maybe I'll think of it. Just come back to me.
All right, guys.
Moving on here.
No, let's. All right, so hopefully it'll come back to you, but we do have a lot of other topics that we have to talk about. So let's move off the Super Bowl now, and let's at least talk about Russell Wilson, because the Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson has officially came out and spoken against Seattle a little bit. He came out and said he wants more control of personnel decisions. And I heard him on the Dan Patrick show this morning, and they asked him if he was in reports to be, or was he available for trade? And he said, that's not a Russell Wilson question, that's a Seattle question. You're going to have to ask them. So he deferred the question, and even though, I'm not going to lie, like watching this interview, Dan Patrick was trying to get the most out of Wilson. Like he was trying to get something controversial out of Wilson, as he should. Like he's a reporter, he is a journalist, that's what they do.
Yeah.
But so he was trying to get Wilson to say some things, and Wilson responded pretty much as respectfully as I could expect. But then he calls a press conference, emergency press conference for later on in the afternoon. And that is when he confirms that he wants more control and more say on personnel decisions in Seattle, because he's been sacked through his first 9 seasons, 394 times, just 6 shy of 400. He is on pace to be the most sacked player in NFL history if he plays as long as he wants to, which is another 10 to 15 seasons. So he wants more protection.
Too.
Devastating. He wants more protection, and this isn't even counting the hits. This is just the sacks. And he wants more say in offensive line and personnel. What is your reaction, Asher? Let's go to you.
It makes total sense, because that's about 3 times a game that he's getting sacked. And the offensive line, like we talked about, like offensive line, I feel like has been the biggest issue for Seattle, and this is even further evidence of that. You have a person like Russell Wilson. I feel like based on what he's done for you and your franchise, I feel like you should be able to give him a little more control. Like, do you make him the GM? No, you don't. You don't give him all power. Like, I don't know what he means by he wants more, because I feel like that can be subjective, because the 3 of us could take wanting more like in 3 totally different ways. Right. And so that's up to Russell Wilson to come out and explicitly tell us, like, what does he mean by that? Because the media could take that and spin that 100 different ways. But as far as that goes, I think he's justified in wanting more, because we saw it. I feel like that's another reason he kind of fell out of the MVP conversation, because his offensive line was making him rush out of the pocket and trying to do too much and throwing bad picks to Jalen Ramsey and the Rams and everyone, also like for the second half of the season. Like it wasn't as much of an issue because everyone thought he was the front runner for MVP, and that goes to show you how much he's justified. Like, when you have an MVP caliber quarterback, I feel like you should listen to him, because I feel like he's got some good things to say. And if you go back and watch film, like he's not wrong. I don't think the offensive line kind of needs to be tightened up, as Aaron says.
All right. Speaking of Aaron.
Yeah, so like I do understand where he's coming from. You know, Russell Wilson, and like you said in his press conference, how he was being super respectful to Dan Patrick. To be fair, of course he's going to be respectful to Dan Patrick. We're talking about the most respectful dude in the NFL, hands down. Such a positive attitude. I don't think there's anybody.
Man of the year too. Don't forget.
Exactly. Yeah, Walter Payton Man of the Year. By the way, congrats to Russell. Totally deserves it. He's at Seattle Children's every Tuesday. Top tier man. Top tier man.
As good as a guy as you can ask.
As good of a human being as you can ask for, especially with how generous he is.
Mm-hmm.
However, Noah, I don't want you to hate me for this.
Here we go.
I have a feeling. You know how like in like all those older movies, or like when those old ladies are sitting out on their porch out saying how they're like, oh, it's about to rain because they have an ache in their hip or whatever. I kind of have an ache in my hip about this situation, and I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it.
Don't do it.
I'm gonna knock on my dresser, which is made of wood. Ready?
I'm on the desk.
Yeah. We could be in the middle of a future Tom Brady situation. It's possible. It's possible.
Having the go, I'll take that. What?
Okay, no, that's not what I mean.
I was gonna say, I need you to explain, like, to clear.
A future Tom Brady situation where he didn't have as much power as he wanted in New England. He goes to Tampa Bay, where he has all the power he wants.
Tom might be leaving soon.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying it's possible, and that could be detrimental to the Seattle sports whole climate, right?
He's kind of the face of Seattle, and he's been the face of Seattle.
He really
ever
is.
since he won the Super Bowl.
As soon as he wins Seattle's first Super Bowl for him, it's been Russell Wilson everywhere. That's all people talk about. And as soon as you think of Seattle sports, who's the first person you think of? Who's the first athlete? Literally Russell Wilson. There's nobody else, right? And granted, I do think he's a Hall of Famer. I think that he's got it in him, its potential. And I think that Seattle should retire his number whenever he does leave. But he does deserve more control in his offensive line because, like you said, 394 sacks, 396 sacks
94.
in his time. 394, yeah, his time here in Seattle. But it could be detrimental if they don't give him more power. I think Russell Wilson, he gets what he wants because Russell Wilson. And he could potentially just say, goodbye, Seattle. I'm going to go win a ring somewhere else, just like Tom Brady did. So.
Well. Aaron.
Give me the rebuttal.
I agree with you.
Uh-huh.
That's it.
Yeah? Really?
No,
Wow.
I am terrified. I'm gonna drop a video on how to fix the Seahawks.
Uh-huh.
I've already done one of these. They didn't listen, so now we have to fix them other ways.
You
And
gotta
now we
talk
have
to
more
this
information. But
Yeah.
I'm going to drop a video on how to fix the Seahawks. And in that video, I'm going to talk about how we need to listen to Russell Wilson. And letting Russ cook does not mean airing the ball out 90% of the game.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean throwing the ball deep because he is one of the best deep balls in the game all the time. It means letting Russell Wilson have some say in the personnel and trust his decision making in general, not just on the field, but off the field too, with personnel, with team situations. Seattle, weren't we the only team in the NFL that didn't have a COVID case that last year? If not the only team, we were one of the few teams. We did a great job organizationally, but we need to have more trust and more faith in Russell Wilson as our leader. The problem that Russell Wilson has, and I agree with Russell Wilson, and that's why I agree with Aaron, is that you look at what's been successful lately in the NFL. A team that just won the Super Bowl gets Tom Brady. He has ultimate say in all their locker room personnel and in the offense. Throughout the year, they're inputting more Brady plays, quote unquote, as the season goes on. And the more Tom Brady gets involved, the more successful they become because they all believe in him and he has his fingerprints all over the offense. Let Russell Wilson have that kind of influence. He is an ultimate leader. He needs to have that kind of influence on our locker room. I think he could bring in some of the best offensive line. He was really satisfied when we brought in Dwayne Brown. Damian Lewis played pretty good this year, but not great at pass protection, and there are still some problems with this offensive line. So I agree that Russell Wilson needs more say in terms of personnel, and that's what'll fix Seattle.
I totally agree. And this is throwing it back a bit, but I remember what I was going to say about the Super Bowl real quick. Do you guys know how lucky we are to be growing up in an era with Tom Brady? Like, to be able to say that we watched the greatest quarterback of all time play, that's just something, that's just a quick thought I had. But, like, literally.
I feel like our kids will fall into that category, too, based on how long.
This is fair. This is true. He's playing until he's 50. I could. Exactly. It's very possible. But, yes, sorry. Continue. No.
It'll be so. Just picking it back up with Seattle. No,
right, yeah.
It'll be like storybook. It'll be so hard to quantify to our children how long and how successful Tom Brady is.
I know.
Like, we'll be like, you remember when Russell Wilson won Super Bowl 2027? And and you were a baby and you don't even remember that, but do you remember in 2030 when Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl and how great that was? Brady did that 7 times, and they'll be like, and they'll be a kid, so they'll have to count with their fingers. They'll be like, they'll realize that they run out of fingers. They'll have to use both hands to count up to how many rings Brady will have, because by then he might have 10. And another thing that I wanted to say earlier, but I don't think that I did say, is that I think Brady's focused on not only playing till potentially 50, I think he's focused not on a repeat, on a three-peat, to be the first quarterback, first team in NFL history to win 3 in a row. But back to Wilson.
Yes.
What is your rebuttal, or do you agree with our thoughts on Wilson's control? Asher, last thing.
Yeah, I think I would agree, and I kind of I had a trade proposal that I was thinking of. So we don't have time for it. We can save it for later. I just thought it was interesting.
No. I want to hear it.
You want to hear it? All right, let me lay it on you. So hypothetically, like, your best case scenario, you give Russ the control. He's the happy dude. You give him his money, and life's good. But let's just say also, on the other side of the hypothetical, that the situation just kind of falls apart, like similar to Deshaun in Texas. That situation is just going nowhere anytime soon. Do you, or would you, I guess, if you had the control that Russell Wilson wants, do you send Russell Wilson to Jacksonville for that number 1 pick that they got?
No, it's going to take a lot more than that.
It would have to be more, yeah. You have to do some trading among the entire NFL. It wouldn't
be a direct trade, but like having Russ in the number 1 pick as the main trading pieces of that.
I wouldn't rather have Trevor Lawrence than Russell Wilson. I don't think I would.
No. I wouldn't right now. It could be a great thing down the road. I would consider that trade, but I would need more than that first overall pick, and I would need a wealthy price that I don't know if Jacksonville wants to pay.
Yeah, it would. They
can't afford it.
It wouldn't just be the first. It would probably be like a first, second, and like a backup, then like wide receiver or something. I don't know.
No. It would take much more than that for me.
Jacksonville can't afford it.
I just think the idea of trading for the number 1 pick is just always fun to talk about.
Oh yeah,
and having someone other than Russell Wilson at quarterback in Seattle is just something no one has thought of for a very long time. So
I want C.J. Henderson. I want obviously the first overall pick. I want next year's first overall pick, and I want next year's first overall pick. Just because you're getting a Super Bowl champion and an MVP candidate out of the franchise that drafted him, and it's a $29 million cap hit if we get rid of him. So it's going to hurt my franchise.
Their undrafted running back, he went off this year.
Throw him in there.
That would improve your running game too. That would fix that issue too, because
and don't they have
that backfield for Seattle was kind of iffy this year, as we talked about a lot.
Yeah.
Who's their center? Do they got Lindley? Do they got Lindley? I think they have a good center, and I want their center. I'm a former center. I love centers.
Hey, go! You know what you want? Go get them.
All right, gentlemen. Let's shift now. Let's talk about some Wazoo sports. And before we get into the good stuff, it's time to talk about the bad. Unfortunately, Wazoo, true freshman this past season quarterback, Gene DeLora, was arrested for DUI a night or two ago, and
it was on 2 a.m. at Saturday morning on Saturday.
Yeah, the news broke
multiple nights ago.
Yeah, news broke yesterday.
We've had a date.
Mm-hmm.
A few days ago, Jane DeLora was arrested for DUI. It is reported that first he didn't stop all the way at a stop sign, then he went the wrong way on a one-way, and they took him out. They spoke to him. They wanted him to do a field sobriety test. He refused. So based on probable cause...
Actually, no, he didn't refuse a field sobriety test. He failed a field sobriety, and he refused a breathalyzer, which legally is a smart move by him. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
he did perform a field sobriety test, and then that led to probable cause from the officers to arrest.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Well, dang, I've heard some conflicting reports, but regardless,
it's definitely a touchy subject for sure.
Yeah,
but that's
it
what
is.
I've seen. Is the field sobriety led to?
Either way, not good. He goes to jail, and then he
released hours later. That's what happened. But
either way, he didn't have a license, and either way.
He was under the influence.
Yeah. So
supposedly, I guess, because they never.
It hasn't
allegedly.
Been
yeah, I guess he could take it to court potentially and try to get it scrubbed off his record. And granted, with the resources that he has and how much Nick Rolovich loves him, it's very possible that he could get it expunged. But at the same time, it's so stupid of him. I'm upset with him. It was a dumb move.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just think, dude, you're a true freshman on a full ride scholarship to a D1 school in the Pac-12, right? You were supposed to go to Hawaii, but then Rolovich brought you to Wazoo with him. You were there because the head coach of a D1 school, not a small position, loves you, and you play football for a D1 school, right? That's not something everybody can do. That's not something that any high school football player can say, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to go D1. He's got a full ride. He has a lot of potential, but at this point, he's suspended. I don't even think he deserves, if he was drunk, and if this does go to court, obviously, or if he was under the influence of whatever, and it is proven that he was guilty, then I think that he doesn't deserve a spot on the team. I think like you can't just come back from something like, you know how dangerous that is. You're driving around, you can like literally somebody could have died if he was under the influence of something. I just think it's a serious topic that, he just, everybody makes mistakes, but dude, come on, DUIs. It's not.
Yeah.
Never acceptable.
I'm
never acceptable.
Yeah, to receive the torch from you on that.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. Like, he let not just himself down, of all people, like the entire community of Pullman down. Like this is one of the most tight knit communities in all of the country. Like, not just sports, but just like life in general. Like the whole hoops have hoops thing, and it was just a really dumb decision. He let the entire community, like he let Coug Nation down with that, to be honest. And I talked with you guys about this earlier, and I hate to be harsh, but when you get a DUI, you kind of have to be harsh about it. Like, this gives me some serious Ryan Leaf vibes. The whole potential, like the Washington State connection too. Like the whole potential. He was drafted second overall in the league behind Peyton Manning, and there was so much upside to him. And then it just all went downhill for him. And he's turned it around since then. And I met him a couple years ago. Like, he's awesome. We're from the same hometown. Like, we had a whole conversation about it. Like, he's definitely turned himself around from his past, and that's great to see. But the thing I want for Delore, I don't want him to turn around from anything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want him to go downhill to begin with. You want the goal for you is to just want to stay high and not avoid the valley. But we've kind of already avoided that with this DUI. But I just hope and pray that he can learn from this and recover. And you don't want to see this for anyone. Like, I don't want anyone to get arrested for DUI or anything like that. But now that we're here, I definitely agree. I don't think he gets a spot on the team. If he does somehow manage to pull a rabbit out of that hat, somehow be a third stringer, it definitely makes Guarantano's job a whole lot easier, becoming the starter, the transfer from Tennessee. And I talked with you guys about this too, kind of a tangent. I don't know how good of a fit he's going to be with WSU, because I watched him play a couple times. I wasn't the biggest fan, but hopefully he'll prove me wrong next season. But that's a conversation for later. But yeah, the whole Ryan Leaf thing connection with me, and the fact that he went to WSU too. Like, maybe he can reach out on Twitter and be like, "Hey man, like, learn from me. Like, don't make the same mistakes I did." Like,
exactly.
I think he needs to learn from this, and I think that would be a good. I'm not saying Ryan Leaf will. I'm not necessarily going one way against that or against that, but I think it would help per se. And I just feel really bad, because we wouldn't expect that. Like, all we were talking about Delore coming into college was like, man, Rolovich recruited him in high school to Hawaii, and that just speaks so much about Rolovich and like how much he loves this kid. And look at him win his first game. Sorry, like, he got Freshman of the Week for that, and their only win this season just because COVID was awful and messed up everyone's season for that matter. But Delore showed some serious upside, like some serious. Like, he was the first true freshman to start a game for WSU. Like, no one's ever done that. Like, he was totally fitting in to be the runner-up for the Luke Falks and the Gardner Minshews and the Anthony Gordons of the world. And I've told you guys this before. Like, the 4 years that I've been here is probably the best quarterback play Wazoo's ever faced. Like, you could argue the Ryan Leaf, Aaron Outsbury, and some of those other guys. But when you have Luke Falk breaking all the records, and then Gardner Minshew coming the year after him and just breaking all of the records he set a year before, like, those are some big shoes to fill. And he's let the entire community down from this one silly, stupid decision. And it's so unfortunate for everyone, but now he just has to live and learn with his mistakes.
DUI is never an acceptable thing, regardless of the reason. So
yeah, absolutely. Please do not drink and drive for all of our...
Or use anything and drive, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Please follow someone.
So
get her at home, and literally anything besides drinking.
Exactly.
This is what it was. Awful.
No, it'll lead to worse.
Bad too in the press, because when you have blank so and so arrested for DUI, like that, there's never anything positive you can say about it.
Exactly. Yep.
Gentlemen, we are running short on time, so I want to kick it to Asher for a Wazoo sports update, starting with basketball.
I'm really excited for Wazoo sports. It's kind of interesting, because I'll probably mention it in my call on Thursday that I'm doing with Isaiah Sharp, who also called football with me. It was really fun. Looking forward to it. We're playing UCLA, and it's going to be a rough game, because the last time we played them, we lost by 30. It was one of the worst losses of the season. It was part of a 6-game losing streak, and it wasn't great. But they bounced back since then. They beat UW and Oregon back to back. Love beating UW. Can't wait to call the Apple Cup, Aaron. That's going to be
baller.
Sure. Yep. And then they lost. I don't know if you guys watched the Oregon State game. That was kind of controversial, and the officiating has been questioned, not just for them.
Pac-12 ref sucks.
The women's game against USC too. I watched, and that was upsetting to watch. But I feel like basketball is both. They're both in really good spots. Charlize won Freshman of the Week again. Wonton has been picking his game back up. He's still second. He's still from the beginning of the season. He's had he's had his ups and downs for sure. I won't deny that. But compared to when we were just totally berating him and had not, we definitely have a lot more positive things to say.
Yeah, we do.
Whereas as predicted,
it was more negative. It's either way though. The positive remarks have gone increased since the beginning of the year, and that's all we want to see. His free throw percentage is still down. I'll mention it on
garbage, bro.
You have to go. It used to be he was the worst free throw shooter in the top 24 scores. Now he's the worst in the top 38.
Wow! Way to go, Isaac.
That's the one thing that I just need him to fix. Like yesterday, just hit your free throws. Like the free throw rehab the assistant coach Shaw has going on.
He's got a great program.
Also, I've never met him personally, but Coach Shaw seems like an awesome dude. Like
he's a brilliant man.
He seems like a really brilliant guy, and he could be a head coach. He wants absolutely definitely. No question. But as far as basketball goes, I think they're both in a really good spot. And I haven't checked updated standings, but the women's team was projected to be a 9 seed, and they were projected to play Kami Etheridge's alma mater in Texas. And then after that, they were projected to lose by 25 plus to UConn.
That's UConn. Women's UConn.
They have the best freshman player. Did you see that Becker's game against South Carolina? That overtime game. Man, that was game of the year. That was so good. Becker's is the best college freshman, probably. I would say almost ever. Sabrina, Kelsey Plum, a couple of those girls, they had their moments, but man, Becker's has just been good all season long. It's been so cool. So as far as basketball goes, volleyball, we're gonna watch some of that this weekend. They're 22nd right now in the country. Jen Greeny is a phenomenal head coach. Yes. They've got a really good freshman class. I talked to you about this, Aaron. One of their freshmen, Juliana Dalton. I really like her. She's 6'5". She's super athletic. She puts it down. She puts it down hard. She likes to play the outside. I think a lot as outside hitter. She just kind of hits a straight shot on, and it worked for her in that match we were at, Aaron. It definitely.
Oh yeah, no, it was incredible. She like playing, especially the number 8 in UCLA team, and the one I called, just popping off. Like they have absolute missiles in the front lines. Awesome.
Yeah, that was a huge win for Jen Greeny's program, and they have veterans coming back in Pukas, who I think is one of the best setters in the Pac-12. They have Penny Tusa, who's really good in the back row. They just have a whole lot going right for them.
They really do. Yeah.
Soccer too. Soccer's in a good place as well. Schulenberger's got. I wish I could watch Trinity Rodman play in a.
Yeah, me too.
How good is she? She didn't even play college and went 2nd overall in the same spot that Morgan Weaver got drafted in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The talent there is absolutely unreal, and I'm so happy. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch her play in pros. But I think soccer could go back to the College Cup, because I was there in California and I didn't broadcast it, and that's a whole other story that I'm sad about and we can talk about later. But WSU sports are in such a good spot. Baseball too. Like I could just go on and on and on. Yeah. But the culture, and I talked to you guys about this. I talked to Cindy Brunson the other day. Phenomenal person. Totally a goat as far as human beings go. She talked about like how the culture of WSU has just kind of been building up like the last couple of years, like since I was a freshman or the year before I came here. It's just been more wins, more great hires by the athletic department, like more involvement, not just in athletics, but the community itself. And now that we see everyone winning, it's like, oh, it makes sense. Like we've just been building this up the last couple of years, and it's really cool to see the fruits bearing fruits from WSU. It's been really cool to see so far. That is I don't know what to name this, Asher's update, whatever you want to call it, but there's your update for you. It's a lot to take in, but there's a whole lot going on in WSU right now. There's a whole lot of good compared to the bad, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. No, I wanna let's go back a little bit and let's talk about basketball, because there was one thing that I wanted to let you announce about a certain female player or former female player.
Oh yeah, Chanel Molina, who I'll save that for later. But no, Chanel Molina going pro, signed with the Fever training camp. Another great. So happy for her. really cool to see. She was great last year with her and Bobby Buckets. That team was really fun to watch. It was sad to see them go out in the first round in Vegas, but it's awesome to see Hoops go pro like that. And I think she can get a spot, even though it's been a really crazy offseason in the WNBA with Candace Parker going home to Chicago. You got Diana Taurasi re-signing with Phoenix, like a bunch of big splashes in offseason. And this probably isn't as big a name as some people because, Washington State probably not as big as, Tennessee volleyball or UConn, players like that, like Candace Parker and Taurasi. But I think Chanel will definitely compete for a spot because I've seen her play. Like, she's so savvy. She's a lot like Charlize in that sense. Like, she just gets after it on defense, and she can just put her head down and give you a bucket like any time. Because she was one of the go-to girls. It was her and Bobby last year were the main offensive pieces for them. And this year it's Fletcher Walker's sisters. So I'm really happy for Chanel, and I think she can get on the final roster because I think it's a training camp contract is what she was able to sign, which is still incredible for her. I think she will definitely make the most of that for sure.
I think so too.
Sweet. And then if you guys don't have anything to add about Wazoo sports, Aaron, we it's time for Mariners with Monson.
I've been waiting a long time for this. Oh man, dude. Okay, here's the thing about the Mariners. It's always a rebuilding year. However, this is different. We're on the longest playoff drought in the entirety of pro sports. We're in the longest playoff drought in the entirety of all pro sports. However, this year we have 5 top 100 prospects. Shout out to my boy Ben Tyler. He's the one that hooked me up and got me on the right website for all this stuff. Okay, we have the number 4 prospect out of the top 100. His name's Jared Kalenic. He's an outfielder. He's a 21-year-old lefty out of Arkansas. He played Double-A ball with the Arkansas Travelers. Number 6 draft overall by the Mets in 2018. He was a high schooler and drafted number 6 overall. Think about that for a minute. Just let that process, right? He's really fast. He steals a lot of bases. So he's a great outfielder, and he can hit the ball. He averages a 366 on-base percentage, and over in his time in the minors, a 516 slugging percentage. That's ridiculous. Okay, he hits the ball.
516 is
516 is a slugging percentage. That's
Hall of Fame numbers for slugging percentage.
Legitimately, it is. Over his 3 years he's been in the minors or whatever. And then we also have the number 5 out of 100 top 100. His name's Julio Rodriguez. He's a 20-year-old right-hander. He's playing for the Modesto Nuts, single A. Great name. Love the minor league baseball.
Minor league baseball has some of the best names ever.
They really do.
Paddleheads. The Missoula Paddleheads was a new team that just came about a couple years ago in Montana. It's a moose in the river. It's not very popular, but I like it. Minor league baseball is on there.
I know, but however, Julio Rodriguez is number 5, and he was signed in 2017 by the Mariners. As a 17-year-old, by the way. He was 17 years old when he was signed with the Mariners. Still crazy. So think about this. You thought the 516 slugging percentage was good. In 2019, Julio Rodriguez had a slugging percentage of 540. 540. And he hits the ball a lot. That's a video game number, and a batting average of 326 in 2019. He gets on base 32.6% of the time. A batting average. Okay, I'm sorry. His on base percentage was 0.39, so 39%. Ridiculous. And both those guys, really good numbers. And when you pair those with Kyle Lewis, who got Freshman of the Year, or Rookie of the Year, freshman.
We're gonna win the American League.
Freshman.
It's very possible. And then we have a couple pitchers. One guy's Emerson Hancock out of the Everett Aqua Sox, baby. Go Sox. And then another one, Logan Gilbert, who was out of Arkansas Travelers. He had a 10-5 record with a 2.13 ERA. Okay, earned run average. And to compare it, you know how Felix Hernandez got that perfect game back in 2012. His ERA that season was 3.06, and his best ERA was in 2014 with a 2.14. So, granted, Logan Gilbert knows how to throw the ball, and then we have Taylor Trammell, who's an outfielder who got drafted by the Reds in 2016 into the Padres. Played with them for a little bit, but I like where the Mariners are heading.
Yeah, they traded for. We talked about Trammell in an earlier show because that was when the Padres were just going all in on trades, just trying to load their roster up, and they sent Trammell up. I think Trammell's going to do really good for them this year. Like from an outsider looking in, because baseball's definitely not my strong suit like it is yours, but I think the Mariners have a lot of good pieces.
I think so too, and it's just our management, Scott Service, and the upper level management of the Mariners need to figure out a way to just implement these guys and win some games. Just for the love of God, we do so good in the first half of the season. You know, you look good, and then the All-Star break hits, and then we're just absolute dog water.
You guys
I don't understand how it works.
Your guys' time is coming though, very soon. I
hope
think
so,
the Mariners.
bro.
Hey, I'm knocking on wood for that. I think it's coming soon. I like the Mariners. I like where they're at.
We've been bad pretty much Brady's career.
No, legitimate. Last time we went to the playoffs was 2001. Okay,
Exactly.
that's the year I was born. Just
All
take
right,
you to
gentlemen,
Tom Brady's the Mariners curse. That's my end.
That
right
was
there.
Mariners with Monson. We do have to go. Thank you all for watching. At Aaron Monson on social media. At Asher Line on social media. At DJ SQUABO on social media. Thank you guys for watching. Every Tuesdays at 6 o'clock on KUGR Radio's YouTube channel. As always, this is your home for Seahawks and Cougar or Seattle and Wazoo sports coverage on KUGR Unorthodox Sports.